I'm sure there are times where you wish they could have avoided getting into a relationship with, just the wrong girls, and you could have saved yourself, a headache or maybe just a couple of bad situations. And as a result, the point of this video is here's my list of, or not a list, but kind of like types of women that you probably should avoid getting into a relationship with. Again, I want to kind of clarify this just from the start before we even get any further into this. This video is not going to be based upon like data or metrics. It's just more of my advice or my opinion to try and help younger kids, or maybe, guys my age, or maybe guys a little older than me that want to give me a chance. And so, yeah, this is, again, just my advice. For starters, the first types of women you should probably avoid are ones who have tattoos. And when I mean tattoos, I'm not talking like a tiny thing like that can be easily hidden. I'm talking about like a whole arm sleeve of tattoos or a giant thing on her back. Like you can easily see that anyone can see. The reason why this is that women who have tattoos tend to be emotionally unstable and extremely toxic. The way I think about it is kind of like a man that doesn't have impulse control, because they want to act masculine by having tattoos, but women don't really have impulse control, or at the very least, their impulse control doesn't tend to be as good as a man. And when I mean a man, I mean like an actual man, not like people that say they're men, but then they act, soft, or they're, impulsive, or they're emotionally unstable and they lash out at people. Like, I mean, your archetypal man, the one that's basically started fading away since the 50s. That's what I mean, like an actual real man. The second type of women would be those who don't have fathers. And this one is more obvious than the last one, considering that, men as a result are generally taught to control their impulses and not to give into their desires, also known as temptations, or to let their emotions control what they do. And because, part of this is so that way they don't go out and do crazy things like, become rapists or abuse women, or, become burglars and break into houses and steal things and just do crazy stuff or kill people, and, just anything crazy that a general law-abiding citizen of this country would do. And because these women don't have a man present in the home, not only do they not know what it's like to have a man present, so they don't know what it's or how to treat men, because they've only been raised with a woman present in the home, but also these women are basically raised on emotion, and they don't really have a sense of, stability present. It's kind of just like, go with your emotions and things are going crazy, and oh yeah, we're gonna pad your ego if we want to, because the mother wants to make her daughter happy. And furthermore, because of these women not having a father present in the home, they will more often than not will move faster, which basically means, having sex on the first date, or just having sex early in the relationship, which, if you've watched my past video on why children need their father present in the home, part of it is that the women who don't have a father present in the home are multitudes more likely to have an unwanted pregnancy or a teen pregnancy, which basically means they're more likely to be promiscuous because they're more likely to sleep with more men, and they're just more likely to have a pregnancy that they're probably going to regret because they didn't plan it out and they just went, oh yeah, let me just, sleep with this guy and who cares? Let's see what happens. And because of this, more likely they're to have higher body counts, which means probably not going to be as good of a partner when it comes to raising a family and marrying this person. This is the third type, is women who are emotionally or psychologically damaged. And what this means is basically just women who have endured a form of trauma in the past. You're basically becoming an emotional wash rag where you have to, absorb all of the trauma that they spill out, because essentially they're going to trust you and they're going to lean on you. And so they're going to constantly rehash their trauma to you because you're the only person they trust. And furthermore, you're dealing with someone that's emotionally unstable because, they're traumatized by what happened earlier in their life. And I don't think anybody, if they had the choice, I don't think a guy would want to have that. So the fourth type is women who had weak or feminine fathers. And so basically what I mean by this is either these dads played the maternal role, which would be staying home and taking care of the kids and being the cook or the house cleaner, or both, or just submitting to the mom and refusing to be assertive and masculine, and as well as being afraid of entering into disagreements with the mother. And so what this basically teaches is the woman is the masculine role in the household. So basically the woman wears the pants. I'm sure you've heard of that saying before, but that's what happens. And the father is just there is just along for the ride. And so basically what the daughter starts looking for is a man that is passive and essentially feminine while she wears the pants. And as a guy, at least in my opinion, it's probably not ideal to want to, be someone you're not supposed to be, which is a passive, submissive man. As a man, we're supposed to be assertive. We're supposed to be dominant. We're supposed to go out and get things. We're supposed to compete for things. We're not supposed to be submitting and being passive all the time. And you can argue that we're not supposed to be passive at all, but that's for another time. And the women who have had these feminine fathers in the home have basically had constructed for them a mental model that basically makes her think that the mother is masculine. Yeah, it's basically what I was just saying before. The mother's masculine, the father's feminine. The mom is one's basically what she says goes. The father's just supposed to be like a yes man and just being okay with whatever the mother says, and the whole happy wife, happy life thing. And basically she's gonna try to make you bend to her will. Not in all cases, but theoretically. And trying to get you away from focusing on your work. And so basically what it could easily become is an adversarial relationship where she sees you as a threat to her dominance instead of basically a cooperation where you and the woman build a life that you that the both of you will respect, as well as your kids and your grandkids and your grandkids' kids will respect. So just building honor, contributing honor to yourself. And one of the best ways to do that is, by giving them a good example, by just being good to people, And after all, that's what God wanted us to do. He wanted us to be good to people because he was good to us. And so the bottom line is, we just basically pass down the kindness and the joy, and we bring joy to other people as we serve God in the best way that we can. And going back to the fifth type is women who had an abusive boyfriend in the past, which you can make an argument that that's probably one of the most unholy things, is being abusive, which is, you can also say is synonymous with being manipulative or deceptive, which is, if you're familiar with the Bible, Satan is one of the masters, or he is the master of deception. And these women who have had abusive boyfriends are addicted to the chaos that was constant in their life at the time. And so basically, if you're not as chaotic as her ex-boyfriend, so basically if you don't become this monster that her ex-boyfriend was, then she's gonna find you boring and then basically just leave and get out, And so it's just not really ideal. Type number 6. This one's a little more controversial because it kind of goes with the whole astrology thing. But I'd say women who carry crystals with them wherever they go. And my reasoning for this is that these women basically worship crystals. And they're probably obsessed with astrology. And I don't know, it's a little strange at the very least to think that you're basically worshiping a crystal or, the stars. And yeah, a little odd, but I think this is type 7. Yeah, type 7, right? Women who only have single friends. In other words, all of her friends are single. And I'm going to quote the late and great Kevin Samuels: single women keep women single. What this means is the women that you're dating, or the woman that you're dating, is going to be constantly told by her friends to, how nice it is to be single, try to get them out to the club, try to get them out doing quote unquote single girl things. And basically it's whether the single friends realize it or not, it's basically trying to rip the relationship that you have between you and the girl and you apart, and trying to destroy that bond you have with her, because they're constantly trying to tear her away from you, doing girls' night out and stuff like that. Type 8, and this kind of correlates with the women who don't have a father, but it's just the women who have a high body count, who are promiscuous. And because of this, there's a higher likelihood that these types of women will cheat on you, and which is, backed by data and science, which is what I also mentioned in the what are the complications of having a high body count video. And I can reference that, or I can link that in the video right here. But yeah, it's much harder to be in a relationship, or to maintain a relationship with a girl that's had a higher body count, because she's less likely to be faithful. Going to type number 9. Basically, women with dyed hair, and this kind of short explanation for this, you know, the fact that she's dyeing her hair shows that it's just a little out there, just a little bit, you know? And it reminds me of a saying I heard a couple months ago, and it was, you know, bright colors in the wild are signified as danger. And I believe that also goes into human life, which you can also say is a reason why you probably should stay away from women with tattoos as well. And then here's also another type, women who are addicted to social media. And these types of women will use you to farm attention from posts on Instagram, and they'll pay more attention to her social media page than you. So basically, they'll use you as an excuse for why people should pay more attention to them. And yeah. And here I have a couple more of them. They have, let's see, women who dress provocative or go to nightclubs. And these women are addicted to the validation that they're receiving from the guys that are looking at them, that are, you know, giving them attention, that are saying you look good, you know, because it makes them feel like they're worth something. And I'm not saying they're not worth anything. That's what I want to clear up. What I'm saying is these women think that they themselves are not attractive, and they wear these provocative clothes to try and convince themselves that they're attractive. Because, again, for some reason, they think they're not attractive. And what they need to realize is, you know, maybe you need to realize that if you're still getting attention, you're not ugly. You're attractive as long as you get attention from guys. I mean, that's by definition what attractiveness is. You can, you know, make guys want to go up to you so that way they could be with you. But then again, women don't really think with logic. They think more emotionally. And so it's kind of harder to get that through a woman's brain. Here's the big one. Women who are single moms. And the reason why you should probably stay away from women who are single moms is pretty simple. For starters, she's pretty much hung up on the man that she, you know, had the kid with, whether she raised it with the guy or not. Not to mention, she'll always have an emotional attachment to that guy because, again, he is the father of their child. And, you know, it still is and it was his responsibility to raise the kid. Furthermore, if the father is abusive, let's say he was, you know, let's say he's in prison, which would be even worse, then, you know, she's probably going to be also emotionally damaged. And so basically, it just leaves a bunch of emotional baggage that you have to take on as a man, by, you know, taking care of this single mom. And I'm not saying you shouldn't, you know, if you want to go ahead and do it, go ahead. You know, I'm not going to judge anybody that wants to, you know, be with a single mom or be with anybody that's on this list. Just want to make that clear. Whoever wants to, you know, go ahead and marry these people, fine. I don't care. Go ahead. You know, it's your right. You can do, honestly, whatever you want. Again, this is just my opinion. I just wanted to make that clear. Another type of women I'd probably recommend to avoid would be women who have the princess mentality, because possibly a good chance that they'll drain your bank account as they think that you're basically a walking wallet. You know, the nails, the eyelashes, getting your hair done all the time, You know, you have the Gucci bags, you have the $2,000 shoes. You know, she wants you to buy her, you know, Balenciaga and all these other fancy, you know, designer material clothes, all this other crazy stuff. And they want you to take them out to 5-star restaurants that probably cost thousands of dollars for one meal. Because again, they see you as a walking wallet. So if you don't want to get drained like a pond after a storm, stay away from these people. Furthermore, you have women who get too attached because they become clingy and they think about serious relationships after a week. Cool. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's nice to have that problem, and it's definitely a smaller concern. Definitely doesn't stack up to some of the ones I've previously mentioned in this video. But if you want to have your own time, you want to have your own space, and you want to be able to, you know, still be able to work on yourself and still be able to do some of your own work, probably a good idea to, you know, just not let them become clingy right off the bat. And furthermore, you have women who are actually psychopaths. You know, you're not gonna fix her, no matter how good looking she is. These will probably be the ones that, you know, they'll slash your tires if you break up with them. They'll freaking break your car, you'll break your windshield, and, you know, try to run you over, and all these crazy ones. Like, we're talking this is probably, you know, the good looking Latina that just goes crazy, you know, the moment you say, I don't want to be with you anymore. Like, we're talking the 8 hot and the 8 crazy on the hot crazy matrix. And lastly, we have if she's 30 and single. If she's 30 and she's not married, she's single for a reason. She's probably a psycho. So I could have probably included that with the psychopath one, but she's probably crazy or she's got too much issues and no man wants to be with her for a good reason. And yeah, I mean, anyways, you know, bottom line is you guys can do absolutely whatever you want. You know, I'm not here to judge, just giving my advice. But that'll do it for this one. If this video resonated with any of you guys, or if you have any questions, or maybe, I don't know, maybe you want to ask me why I think what I do, then you can place a comment in the comment section down below. If not, you can, you know, feel free to give this video a like or subscribe to my channel. I don't mind either way. But yeah, that'll do it for this one. I appreciate your time. Thank you very much. And ultimately, take care.